bookworms, my name is Caroline and I bought quite a few books this month, so I'm going to show you what I got. I mentioned in my 2017 resolutions video that I would be making an effort to buy a lot less books this year. My current plan is to buy one book for every 5 that I read, but because it's January and I still had some leftover money from Christmas and some vouchers and stuff like that, I did buy a few extras, so that whole plan of buying less will be starting next month instead. Anyway, all of the books that I got are ones that I'm really excited to read, so I don't think that they'll be sitting on my shelf for particularly long, but I guess who knows? Let's just jump in and I'll show you guys what I got. First up, I got Words of Radiance Part 1 by Brandon Sanderson. So this is part 1 of the second book in the Stormlight Archive series, which is going to be like 10 books long or something equally ridiculous. In January, I read parts 1 and 2 of book 1 in the series and very much enjoyed it. The first book contained a whole lot of world building and a whole lot of information, but throughout the process of reading, I just completely fell in love with all the characters. So I'm looking forward to reading this and seeing what happens to them and where the story goes. To keep the fantasy theme going, I also picked up The Way of Shadows by Brent Weeks, despite the fact that it just has an absolutely awful cover. I was initially planning on picking up the first book in the Black Prism series by Brent Weeks, but when I looked it up on Goodreads, I saw that he had this complete trilogy that is recommended for fans of Mistborn, and that's me, so I grabbed it. Next up, I grabbed the Kurosagi Corpse Delivery Service, and this is volume 1 of the Omnibus edition, so it's absolutely huge. I'm pretty sure this contains the first 3 volumes of the series. I don't know heaps about this manga, but I read the blurb and it just has a really interesting concept. Basically, our characters are Buddhist students who can't find jobs among the living that utilize their skill set, so they start working with the dead instead and basically will carry a body wherever it needs to go so that the trapped soul can be free for reincarnation, and I just think that sounds really interesting. I've had a flick through and looked at the art style and that looks awesome as well, so I'm hoping that I enjoy this. The next book I got in January is Whisper to Me by Nick Lake, and although this book sounds really interesting, I'm gonna be upfront and say I bought it mostly for the pretty cover. I'm hoping this will be a cute story. I do know that the main character struggles with a mental illness throughout the story, and that's something I always find really interesting to read about, so I think I will like this book. Next up is another book that I don't know a whole lot about, and it's The Female of the Species by Mindy McGuinness. This book does deal with rape culture, so obviously there's a trigger warning that goes along with it. I bought this book after watching a review by Trina by Between Chapters, and I'm going to leave the link to that in the description because I think she does a much better job of selling it than I possibly could, but I just think this book has a super interesting and unique concept, so I'm really looking forward to reading it. The next book I got is The Sun Is Also a Star by Nicola Yoon. I wasn't initially planning on buying this or reading it because I wasn't a huge fan of the author's other book, Everything Everything, but let's be honest, I'm a bit of a sucker for a pretty cover and I caved and bought it because I'm weak. I am hoping that I enjoy this book because it's super diverse and I've been hearing absolutely amazing things about it, so fingers crossed. Next up we have Black by Fleur Ferris, which I picked up this month at a Penguin event that I attended, and I also got it signed by the author, which is super exciting, and she was absolutely lovely. This does sound like a kind of cool story. It follows our main character who is potentially cursed or something like that, and I'm not completely confident that this is something I'm really going to enjoy, but I'm interested to see what I think. The final book that I got in January is History Is All You Left Me by Adam Silvera, which I pre-ordered like months and months ago, and it's finally here, and I am just so excited to read it. I haven't read this book yet, but I am planning to after I finish the book that I'm currently reading. I'm just so excited. I know it's going to make me cry and be incredibly emotional, but I'm just so ready to feel all the feels with this book. Those are all the books that I bought in January, and like I said before, I am super excited to read all of these. I think I'm really going to like them, so let me know down in the comments if you've read any of them and what you thought. I upload videos Wednesdays and Saturdays and sometimes Mondays as well, so be sure to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and stay tuned on those days for more bookish goodness. Toodaloo!